The crystalline observatory of the celestial science vessel Luminary hummed with the soft vibration of quantum engines as chief xenobiologist Viridian adjusted the precision of her neural scanners. Through the transparent dome above, the blue-green planet designated E-3 rotated slowly against the backdrop of infinite stars. Humans called it Earth. The Italians called it something else entirely, potential. Magnification increased to cellular level, announced Viridian's assistant, Quartz, his translucent fingers dancing across holographic controls. Neural activity in subject 7249, now visible. The three-dimensional projection hovering between them shifted, zooming through layers of human tissue until individual nerve cells came into focus. The neurons pulsed with electrochemical signals, a dance of light and information that had fascinated Italian scientists for decades. Standard degenerative patterns, Viridian noted, her silver eyes tracking the predictable decay of damaged nerve cells, consistent with previous observations of human neural limitations. Wait. Quartz's voice sharpened with sudden interest. Something's changing. Viridian leaned forward, her normally impassive features betraying surprise as the projection revealed something impossible, new neural pathways forming where damage had occurred. The human brain was repairing itself. This contradicts all previous data, she whispered. Run a diagnostic on the scanning equipment. Already did, Quartz replied, a tremor of excitement in his voice. The equipment is functioning perfectly. What we're seeing is real. Viridian's mind raced through implications. For centuries, the Italian collective had observed humanity from a distance, studying Earth's dominant species with clinical detachment. Their assessment had always been the same, an intelligent but fundamentally limited species, hemmed in by biological constraints, including the inability to regenerate crucial neural tissue. This limitation had informed the collective's entire approach to Earth. Humans were classified as a level 3 species, worthy of study but not contact. Their biological restrictions would prevent them from advancing beyond certain technological thresholds, particularly the neural interfaces required for interstellar communication and travel. But if humans could regenerate nerve cells, we need to alert the Council immediately, Viridian decided, straightening her slender frame, and initiate comprehensive monitoring of all medical facilities on the planet. Should we maintain our non-interference protocol? Quartz asked. Viridian hesitated, centuries of scientific discipline warring with newfound urgency. For now. But prepare for potential protocol adjustments. If humans have broken this fundamental barrier, she left the thought unfinished, her gaze returning to the projection where impossible neural regeneration continued to unfold. In the silence of the observatory, both scientists understood the unspoken conclusion: everything about their relationship with Earth might be about to change. Dr. Eleanor Reed stared at the brain scans on her laboratory screens, scarcely daring to believe what she was seeing. After 15 years of research, countless failed experiments, and the ridicule of the scientific establishment, the evidence was undeniable. "It's working, Marcus," she said quietly to her research partner. "Actually working." Dr. Marcus Chen moved to stand beside her, his normally composed features animated with cautious excitement. "The axonal regrowth is unmistakable." "How long has it been active in patient 0? 72 hours since initial injection of the modified NRG1 compound." Eleanor manipulated the three-dimensional scan, highlighting areas where new neural connections had formed in their patient's damaged spinal cord. "And no signs of adverse effects so far. It defies everything we thought we knew about central nervous system regeneration," Marcus murmured. "The implications for spinal cord injuries alone, and stroke recovery, neurodegenerative diseases, traumatic brain injuries." Eleanor's voice caught as the magnitude of their discovery washed over her. "We need to expand the trial immediately and prepare the data for publication. The review board will need convincing," Marcus cautioned. "Not to mention the skeptics who've built entire careers insisting neural regeneration is impossible in humans." "The data speaks for itself," Eleanor replied, though she knew the battle ahead would be fierce. The scientific community didn't easily embrace paradigm shifts, especially from researchers whose previous work had been dismissed as wishful thinking. They had named their compound Neurogenesis X, or NGX, a fusion of modified growth factors, stem cell stimulants, and a novel protein structure Eleanor had identified in species with natural regenerative abilities. What made it revolutionary wasn't just that it promoted neural growth, but that it did so without the uncontrolled proliferation that had plagued previous attempts, leading to tumor formation and aberrant connections. As they prepared additional doses for the next phase of their trial, neither scientist noticed the almost imperceptible fluctuation in their laboratory's electronic equipment, a subtle scanning beam originating far above Earth's atmosphere, where beings with silver eyes watched with growing interest. In the sterile confines of her recovery room, Sophia Walker wiggled her toes for the first time in 8 years. The movement was tiny, almost imperceptible, but to Sophia it represented nothing less than a miracle. The car accident that had severed her spinal cord at T10 had come with absolute certainty from her doctors. She would never walk again. No sensation, no movement below the injury site. A life sentence of paralysis. Then had come the clinical trial offer from Reed Neuroscience Institute, an experimental treatment with no guarantees they'd emphasized. Sophia had signed up immediately. What did she have to lose? Now, as she stared at her feet moving under her own power, tears streamed down her face. The recovery nurse, Brendan, stood beside her bed, his own eyes wide with disbelief. "I need to call Dr. Reed," he said, reaching for the communication panel. This is unprecedented. "It's coming back," Sophia whispered, focusing intensely as sensation slowly returned to her lower extremities. First pinpricks of feeling, then actual tactile awareness. "I can feel the blanket on my legs." As Brendan hurriedly contacted the research team, neither of them noticed the slight shimmer in the air near the ceiling. A cloaked observation drone, recording every moment of this remarkable recovery for beings watching from above. The council chamber of the Atelian Collective glowed with the bioluminescent light of its ancient walls as Chief Observer Thalion addressed the gathered representatives. His normally melodious voice carried an unusual edge of urgency. "The evidence is conclusive," he stated, activating the central projection system. "Humans have developed a method to regenerate neural tissue." This breakthrough occurred at a research facility called Reed Neuroscience Institute, under the direction of 2 scientists named Eleanor Reed and Marcus Chen. The holographic display showed detailed images of human brain and spinal cord tissue before and after treatment with the compound the humans had designated NGX. "Our projections indicated this technological threshold wouldn't be reached for at least another century," noted Elder Serena, her ancient face creased with concern. "What accelerated their progress?" "A combination of factors," Thalion replied. "The lead researcher, Eleanor Reed, possesses exceptional pattern recognition abilities, even by human standards. She identified regenerative protein structures in Earth species and successfully adapted them for human neural tissue. Additionally, their quantum computing capabilities have advanced more rapidly than anticipated, allowing for molecular modeling beyond their previous limitations." "The real question," interrupted Councillor Vex, his sharp features hardened with centuries of military service, "is what this means for our security protocols. If humans can regenerate neural tissue, they'll eventually develop the neural interfaces required for deep space communication and navigation. They could detect our presence within decades." A murmur of concern rippled through the chamber. The Atelian Collective had maintained strict observation protocols regarding Earth for good reason. Historical records from other worlds told cautionary tales of premature contact with developing species. "What are our options?" asked Elder Serena. "There are 3, Thalion responded. "First, we maintain our non-interference protocol and accept the accelerated timeline for potential contact. Second, we implement subtle interference to slow their progress, resource limitations, data corruption, key personnel reassignment. And the third?" Councillor Vex prompted. Thalion paused. "Direct intervention. We reveal ourselves and offer guidance through this technological transition." The chamber erupted in conflicting opinions. Direct intervention violated centuries of established protocol. Yet the alternative, Allowing humans to develop neural interface technology without preparation carried its own risks. There is another consideration. Viridian spoke for the first time, her voice cutting through the debate. As chief xenobiologist, her insights carried special weight. Our preliminary analysis suggests the NGX compound could potentially be adapted for interspecies neural compatibility. Silence fell as the implications registered. The Atelian collective had encountered many species throughout the cosmos, but true neural interface between different biological systems had remained elusive, a limitation that had prevented deeper forms of understanding and cooperation. Are you suggesting this human discovery could benefit us? Elder Serena asked incredulously. I'm suggesting it could benefit all spacefaring species, Viridian clarified. A universal neural interface would transform galactic cooperation. Councillor Vex's expression darkened, or create unprecedented security vulnerabilities. We need more data before making any decision, Thalion concluded. I propose we escalate to close-range observation. Selected observers will integrate with the human research facility to assess both the technology and the humans developing it. After further debate, the Council approved Thalion's proposal. Viridian would lead the observation team, disguised as human medical specialists interested in collaborating with the Reed Institute. As the Council dispersed, Viridian approached Thalion privately. You didn't share your personal assessment with the Council. Thalion's silver eyes met hers. Because it's not yet a scientific conclusion. But yes, I believe this discovery changes everything we thought we knew about humans. They're not just breaking biological barriers, they're breaking them centuries ahead of schedule. That suggests we've fundamentally misunderstood something about their potential, or about their determination, Viridian added softly. The Reed Neuroscience Institute had transformed overnight from an underfunded research facility to the epicenter of the most significant medical breakthrough in decades. After Sophia Walker's case made international headlines, the medical community could no longer ignore Eleanor and Marcus's work. Funding poured in, along with research partnership offers from prestigious institutions worldwide. Eleanor stared out the window of her new office, watching construction crews expand their laboratory space to accommodate the growing research team. Success should have felt sweeter, but unease gnawed at her satisfaction. Another equipment malfunction in Lab 3, Marcus reported, entering with a tablet displaying diagnostic reports. That's the 5th this week, and the backup data storage system crashed again. Any data loss? Eleanor asked, concern creasing her brow. Nothing critical. But the timing of these technical issues is strange. Eleanor nodded. Since their breakthrough had gone public, a series of unexplainable setbacks had plagued their work. Subtle but persistent equipment failures, data anomalies, even scheduling conflicts that delayed crucial experiments. Could be growing pains from the rapid expansion, she suggested, not entirely convinced. Maybe. Marcus hesitated. There's something else. We've received a partnership request from a research group I've never heard of, the Stellar Medical Consortium. They're offering significant resources and expertise in neural interfacing. Neural interfacing? That's a completely different field from regenerative medicine. That's what I thought. But their proposal suggests combining the technologies, using your NGX compound as a foundation for developing improved brain-computer interfaces. Eleanor frowned. That's an application I hadn't considered. Who's their lead researcher? Dr. Varia Silva. Apparently she's published extensively in specialized journals. The credentials check out, but something feels off. Eleanor finished for him. Let's meet them before deciding. I want to understand exactly what they're proposing. Neither of them could have guessed that Dr. Varia Silva was Viridian's human alias, nor that the Stellar Medical Consortium existed only in elaborately fabricated digital records created by Atelian technology. The observers had arrived, hidden in plain sight. Varia Silva cut an imposing figure as she strode into Eleanor's office, her tall frame moving with unusual grace, silver-grey eyes sharp with intelligence behind stylish glasses. She was accompanied by a slightly shorter man introduced as Dr. Quinn Stone, whose quiet demeanor contrasted with his colleague's commanding presence. Your work is revolutionary, Dr. Reed, Varia began without preamble. The implications extend far beyond the obvious medical applications. Eleanor studied the woman carefully. Something about her speech pattern seemed slightly off, perfectly grammatical, but with subtle rhythmic differences from typical English. "We're focused on those medical applications," Eleanor replied, "helping people like Sophia Walker regain function after catastrophic injuries." "Noble priorities," Varia acknowledged. "But the same mechanisms that allow neurons to regenerate could potentially enhance how they interface with external systems. Imagine neural prosthetics that integrate perfectly with the nervous system, or brain-computer interfaces without rejection issues." Marcus leaned forward. "You're talking about cyberneural integration. That's decades away from practical application. Perhaps not as far as you think." Quinn spoke for the first time, his voice softer than his colleagues, but equally precise. "Your NGX compound solves several fundamental problems that have limited progress in our field." "And what exactly is your field?" Eleanor asked directly. "Your publications are impressively technical, but remarkably sparse on practical applications." A flicker of something? Amusement? Concern? Crossed Varia's face before her professional composure returned. "We explore theoretical limits of neural connectivity. Until your breakthrough, much of our work remained theoretical. Now, practical applications become possible." The discussion continued, with Varia and Quinn demonstrating extensive knowledge of neuroscience, yet occasionally revealing surprising gaps in understanding of standard medical protocols. They proposed a collaborative research program focusing on extending NGX's applications to neural interface technology. After they departed, Eleanor turned to Marcus. "What do you think?" "Brilliant scientists, without question. But there's something they're not telling us." Marcus tapped his fingers thoughtfully on the desk. "Did you notice how they avoided discussing their previous research locations? Or how they seemed unfamiliar with standard IRB procedures?" Eleanor nodded. "Their proposal is fascinating, though. Neural interfaces could exponentially expand NGX's benefits." She stared thoughtfully at the door where their strange visitors had exited. "Let's proceed cautiously. Limited collaboration until we understand exactly who we're dealing with." As Eleanor and Marcus discussed parameters for the new partnership, neither noticed the microscopic drone hovering near the ceiling vent, transmitting their conversation to a vessel hidden in Earth's orbit. The collaboration with the Stellar Medical Consortium progressed rapidly over the following weeks. Varia and Quinn brought advanced equipment unlike anything Eleanor had seen before, sleek, intuitive systems that dramatically accelerated their research. New NGX variants were developed, each refining the neural regeneration process while adding capabilities for interfacing with external systems. Yet the mysteries surrounding their new partners only deepened. They worked tirelessly, rarely leaving the facility. Their knowledge of neuroscience was extraordinary, but punctuated by bizarre gaps in understanding of human physiology. Most strangely, Eleanor occasionally caught them communicating in hushed tones using sounds unlike any language she recognized. On a rare evening away from the lab, Eleanor voiced her growing suspicions to Marcus over dinner at her apartment. "There's no record of Varia or Quinn existing before 3 months ago," she said quietly, pushing food around her plate. "I had a private investigator friend run extensive backgrounds. Their credentials are impeccable but untraceable. No university remembers them despite listed affiliations." Marcus lowered his voice, though they were alone. "Their technology is too advanced. I disassembled one of their neural scanners when they weren't around. The components don't match any known manufacturing process." "Who are they, Marcus? Industrial spies? Foreign government agents?" "I'm not sure either of those explanations fit what we're seeing." Marcus hesitated. What if? What if they're not from here at all? Eleanor stared at him. "You can't seriously be suggesting—" "I know how it sounds," Marcus admitted. "But consider the evidence: unrecognizable technology, no verifiable history, advanced knowledge with strange gaps, physical differences they try to conceal." "Physical differences? Haven't you noticed? They never shake hands. Varia wears gloves constantly. Their movements adjust slightly. Off. Too precise. Too fluid." Eleanor wanted to dismiss the theory as absurd, yet pieces were falling into place. The strange equipment malfunctions before their arrival. the odd communication patterns, their intense interest in combining neural regeneration with interface technology. "If you're right," she said slowly, "what do we do? We need proof, and we need to understand their intentions." They developed a plan. Marcus would modify the security systems to record all lab activities secretly. Eleanor would propose a test of the latest NGX variant on a new neural interface prototype, hoping to observe their reactions and gather more data on their technology. Neither of them anticipated that the Atelians were having similar discussions about revealing their true identity. The observers had reported back to the collective council that Eleanor and Marcus had exceeded expectations, demonstrating not only scientific brilliance but ethical considerations that aligned with Atelian values. The question was no longer whether to intervene, but how and when. The decision would be forced sooner than either side planned. The laboratory hummed with activity as final preparations were made for the neural interface test. The latest NGX variant, version 7.3, had shown remarkable promise in preliminary trials, creating stable neural connections with external systems without degradation over time. Eleanor adjusted the parameters on the interface prototype, a sleek headset designed to translate neural signals into digital commands and vice versa. Marcus monitored brainwave patterns from their volunteer subject, a graduate student named Alexis, who had joined their expanding research team. Varia and Quinn observed from nearby, their attention focused on the neural scanning equipment they had provided. Their silver eyes, hidden behind specially designed contact lenses, missed nothing. Beginning neural sync in 3, 2, 1. Eleanor activated the interface. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Alexis gasped as the neural connection established, her mind linking directly with the laboratory's computer systems. "It's incredible," she whispered. "I can feel the data, like touching it with my thoughts." The monitors showed perfect synchronization between human neural patterns and digital systems, an unprecedented achievement in brain-computer interface. Yet, as the test progressed, something unexpected occurred. The connection began extending beyond the intended systems, reaching into secured networks, following paths that shouldn't have existed. "Something's wrong," Marcus warned, fingers flying across his keyboard. "The interface is accessing restricted systems." Alarms blared as security protocols activated. On the main screen, unexpected data appeared: star charts, anatomical diagrams of distinctly non-human physiology, and communication logs in an unknown language. Eleanor stared in shock, recognizing the implications immediately. "That's not our data." Varia and Quinn exchanged urgent glances. The neural interface had inadvertently connected with their concealed communication systems, revealing information about the Atelian observation mission. "Shut it down," Varia commanded, her carefully maintained human accent slipping. But before anyone could react, the laboratory doors slid open as security personnel responded to the alarms. In the confusion that followed, Quinn moved with inhuman speed to disconnect Alexis from the interface, while Varia attempted to lock down the exposed data. "Stop right there," shouted the head of security, drawing his weapon. What happened next occurred so quickly that later accounts would differ dramatically. Quinn raised his hand, and a pulse of energy disabled all electronics in the room. Varia removed her gloves, revealing translucent fingers that interfaced directly with the computer terminal, initiating some kind of emergency protocol. In the sudden darkness, illuminated only by emergency lighting, Eleanor found herself face to face with Varia, whose contact lenses had fallen out, revealing silver eyes with vertical pupils. "We need to talk," Varia said simply, "but not here." Before Eleanor could respond, she felt a strange sensation, like falling while standing still, and the laboratory disappeared around her. Eleanor regained awareness in an environment unlike anything she had ever experienced. Crystalline walls pulsed with soft bioluminescence. Through a transparent ceiling, Earth rotated slowly against the blackness of space. The realization struck her with vertigo-inducing force. She was no longer on the planet's surface. "Please remain calm, Dr. Reed," came Varia's voice, except now it carried harmonic undertones impossible for human vocal cords to produce. "You are safe, Eleanor turned to find Varia transformed. She had abandoned her human disguise, revealing iridescent skin with subtle patterns that shifted with her movements. Her true form was humanoid but distinctly alien, taller, more angular, with elongated fingers and those unmistakable silver eyes. "What are you?" Eleanor managed to ask, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her fear. "We are Atelians," Varia, or rather, Viridian, explained. "My actual designation is Chief Xenobiologist Viridian. We have been observing Earth for centuries." Marcus materialized nearby, accompanied by Quinn, now revealed as Quartz. His Atelian features similar to Viridian's, but with subtle differences in coloration and structure. "Are we abducted?" Marcus asked, his voice remarkably steady, despite the extraordinary circumstances. "Temporarily relocated," Quartz corrected. "Once we explain the situation, you will be returned unharmed." Over the next hour, Viridian and Quartz outlined the history of Atelian observation of Earth, their classification system for developing species, and how Eleanor's neural regeneration breakthrough had fundamentally altered their assessment of human potential. "You've achieved something we believed impossible for your species," Viridian explained. "The ability to regenerate neural tissue removes a critical limitation we thought would prevent humans from advancing to interstellar capabilities. That's why you were so interested in combining NGX with neural interface technology," Eleanor realized. "You were assessing how close we were to developing systems compatible with your communication network." "Precisely," Quartz confirmed. "Though our interest wasn't merely assessment, your NGX compound has properties we haven't encountered before. Properties that could potentially solve interspecies neural compatibility issues that have limited cooperation throughout known space." Eleanor struggled to process the implications. "So this was never about stealing our research or interfering with human progress?" "On the contrary," Viridian replied. "The Council was divided on whether to slow your progress or guide it. Our mission was to determine which approach would be most appropriate." "And what did you determine?" Marcus asked cautiously. "That humanity has greater potential than our models predicted," Viridian stated. "Your neural regeneration breakthrough is just the beginning. Combined with the right interface technology, it could lead to capabilities we haven't achieved in millennia of development." A tall, distinguished Atelian entered the chamber, his presence commanding immediate respect from Viridian and Quartz. "I am Chief Observer Thalion," he introduced himself. "The unplanned revelation of our existence has forced us to accelerate certain decisions." He activated a holographic display showing a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with hundreds of points illuminated in various colors. "These are the known intelligent species throughout charted space. Until now, humans have been classified as an isolated developing species, observed but not contacted." "And now?" Eleanor asked. "Now we must decide whether to offer humanity partnership rather than mere observation. Your neural regeneration technology, combined with our knowledge of interface systems, could create something revolutionary. A universal neural translation system enabling true understanding between different forms of consciousness." The magnitude of what Thalion was suggesting took Eleanor's breath away. "Why us? Why me?" "Because you saw possibility where others, including us, saw limitation," Viridian answered. "And because how you've approached this discovery demonstrates values compatible with peaceful advancement." "We're offering a choice," Thalion continued. "Return to Earth with no memory of this encounter, allowing humanity to develop on its own timeline, or become aware of the broader cosmos now, with all the responsibilities that entails." Eleanor and Marcus exchanged glances, a silent communication born of years of partnership. "If we choose awareness," Eleanor asked carefully, "would this knowledge be shared with all humanity or just us?" "That would be the first of many complex decisions," Thalion acknowledged. "Historically, transitional contact begins with limited awareness that gradually expands, but the details would be determined collaboratively." "We need time to consider," Marcus said. "Of course," Thalion agreed, "but not too much time. Your unexpected connection to our systems has already been detected by others. The choice must be made soon." Eleanor stood at the observation window of the luminary, watching Earth rotate below, the beautiful blue-green planet that suddenly seemed both smaller and more precious than before. Marcus joined her, his expression contemplative. "How do we make a decision that affects all of humanity?" he asked quietly. "We already did," Eleanor replied. "When we developed NGX, we just didn't know the full implications." They had spent hours reviewing information the Atelians had provided. Historical records of other species' transitions to galactic awareness, protocols for limited, contact scenarios, and detailed explanations of how neural interface technology combined with regenerative capabilities could transform into species communication. "They're not telling us everything," Marcus noted. "Their explanations about these others who detected the system breach are deliberately vague." Eleanor nodded. "There are clearly political complexities they're simplifying for us. But the core offer seems genuine. They want our neural regeneration technology, and they're willing to share knowledge in return. Knowledge that would advance human development by centuries," Marcus added. "But at what cost? Independence, cultural identity." Their discussion was interrupted by Viridian's arrival. The Atelian xenobiologist had shed all pretense of human mannerisms, moving with the fluid grace natural to her species. "The Council is ready to hear your decision," she announced. Eleanor took a deep breath. "Before we decide, I need to understand something clearly. What happens to Earth, to humanity, if we decline your offer?" Viridian's expression shifted in a way Eleanor was learning to interpret as thoughtfulness. Observation would continue. Limited interference might be implemented to slow neural interface development, giving both our societies more time to prepare for eventual contact. But the discovery of neural regeneration cannot be undone. Humanity will reach interstellar capability, with or without our guidance. "And the others you mentioned?" Marcus pressed. "The ones who detected the system breach?" Viridian hesitated. "There are factions within the galactic community with different philosophies regarding developing species. Some believe in strict non-interference. Others advocate for more proactive approaches to managing potential disruptions to established order." "You mean some would rather sabotage our development than welcome us?" Eleanor translated. "That is a simplification, but not entirely inaccurate," Viridian acknowledged. "Your neural regeneration breakthrough has shifted the timeline dramatically. What was once a distant theoretical concern is now an immediate consideration." Eleanor and Marcus exchanged another look, communicating volumes without words. Finally, Eleanor turned back to Viridian. "We've made our decision," she stated. "But we have conditions." The council chamber fell silent as Eleanor finished presenting her proposal. The Atelian leaders, 7 in total, regarded the human scientists with expressions ranging from shock to grudging respect. "You're proposing a complete revision of contact protocols," Elder Serena said finally. "Not limited awareness for selected scientists, but a transparent international announcement of extraterrestrial contact, with appropriate preparation," Eleanor clarified. "A phased revelation coordinated through scientific channels first, then expanding to governmental and public awareness. But yes, open rather than selective contact." "Impossibly naive," Councillor Vex objected. "Human social structures aren't prepared for such knowledge. Your own history demonstrates violent responses to far less significant paradigm shifts." "Our history also shows remarkable adaptability," Marcus countered. "And the alternative, selective contact, creates dangerous power imbalances that would ultimately destabilize our society." "There's another consideration," Eleanor added. "The NGX technology. It belongs not to us personally, but to humanity as a whole. We have no authority to trade it exclusively without broad consent." Thalion leaned forward. "You understand this approach would significantly slow the development of the neural translation system we proposed. The collaborative potential would be limited by widespread debates, regulatory processes, cultural adjustments." "Yes," Eleanor acknowledged, "but the result would be more stable and ethically sound. A universal neural translation system should emerge from universal consent, not secretive arrangements." Debate erupted among the council members, shifting between spoken language and what appeared to be some form of direct neural communication that excluded the humans. Finally, Thalion raised his hand for silence. "Your proposal has merit," he conceded, but also significant risks. We propose a compromise, a limited initial contact with a select international group of scientists and ethical oversight experts, expanding gradually as human society demonstrates readiness. The NGX technology remains under human control, with collaborative research rather than technology transfer. Eleanor considered this. That could work, with certain guarantees regarding transparency and equitable access. There's still the matter of the detection by other factions, Councillor Vex reminded them. Some will view any contact as premature interference. Then perhaps it's time to revisit those non-interference policies, Viridian suggested, if they were based on flawed assessments of species potential, as seems clear in humanity's case. After further negotiation, a framework was established. Initial contact would include an international committee of scientists, ethicists, and governance experts, carefully selected for both expertise and diverse representation. The existence of extraterrestrial intelligence would be revealed first to this committee, then gradually to wider humanity through a carefully managed process. Collaborative research would begin on neural interface technology compatible with NGX regenerative properties, with the goal of developing systems for improved human-to-human neural communication before eventually extending to interspecies applications. As the historic agreement took shape, Eleanor felt the weight of what they were setting in motion. Humanity would never be the same. Yet the alternative, continuing in isolation, vulnerable to interference from less benevolent factions, seemed ultimately more dangerous than the path they were choosing. "There's one more thing," she said, as the formal terms were being recorded. "I want to bring Sophia Walker into the initial contact group." The request was met with confusion from the council. "She was our first successful NGX patient," Eleanor explained, "a non-scientist whose life was transformed by this technology. If we're making decisions that will transform humanity, we need perspectives beyond the scientific and political elite." After consideration, the council agreed to this unusual addition. In a secure conference facility reimagined by Atelian technology to accommodate both human and non-human physiological needs, 23 humans from around the world sat in stunned silence. The holographic presentation showing the history of Atelian observation of Earth had just concluded, and the implications were still sinking in. Eleanor watched their reactions carefully. The selection process had been meticulous, brilliant minds from diverse fields and cultures, individuals whose records suggested both intellectual flexibility and ethical grounding. Yet nothing could fully prepare anyone for the revelation that humanity was not alone in the universe. Dr. Hiroshi Nakamura, a quantum physicist from Kyoto University, was the first to speak. "The technological implications alone are beyond comprehension," he said softly. "But the philosophical implications may be even more profound. That's precisely why this revelation must be carefully managed," replied Dr. Amara Okafor, an ethicist specializing in technological impact assessment. "Human society has fracture points that could be catastrophically stressed by improper introduction of this knowledge." Discussion erupted around the table. Questions about verification, concerns about security, debates about the appropriate pace of revelation to broader humanity. Through it all, Eleanor noted that Sophia Walker, seated quietly in her wheelchair despite having regained some mobility, was simply observing with remarkable composure. When there was finally a lull in the intense conversation, Eleanor turned to her. "You've been quiet, Sophia. What are your thoughts?" Sophia looked around the table, then at the Atelian representatives standing nearby. "Everyone's focused on the challenges and risks. That's important. But we're missing something fundamental." She wheeled her chair forward slightly. 2 months ago, I couldn't feel or move anything below my chest. The medical establishment said that was permanent, a limitation I'd have to accept. Now I can feel my toes. I'm beginning to stand with assistance." Her gaze swept the room. The most dangerous limitation isn't physical. It's believing something is impossible when it isn't. That applies to nerve cells regenerating. It applies to different species communicating. And it applies to humanity's ability to handle this revelation. The room fell silent as her words registered. The neural regeneration breakthrough and this contact are connected by more than technology, Sophia continued. They both represent the same fundamental truth. What we thought were permanent limitations were actually just waiting to be overcome. Eleanor felt a surge of validation for insisting on Sophia's inclusion. Sometimes the most important insights came from outside traditional expertise. As the meeting continued, the framework for humanity's introduction to a wider cosmos took shape. The process would begin with verified scientific publications about the NGX breakthrough, followed by carefully timed revelations about collaborative research with previously unknown research partners. Over months and years, the existence of extraterrestrial intelligence would be introduced, first as theoretical, then as confirmed. Throughout this careful choreography, joint research would continue on the neural interface applications of NGX technology. The goal remained a universal translation system that could bridge not just language but fundamentally different consciousness structures, a technology that could transform galactic relationships far beyond Earth. The observation deck of the new International Neural Research Center offered panoramic views of both the facility's extensive grounds and the night sky above. Eleanor stood at the window, watching stars emerge as dusk deepened into evening. Behind her, the celebration marking the 5th anniversary of the NGX breakthrough continued, scientific luminaries mingling with patients whose lives had been transformed by neural regeneration therapy. Marcus joined her, offering a glass of champagne. "Quite a journey from our underfunded lab days," he observed. Eleanor smiled. "I was just thinking about the early NGX trials. Remember how we celebrated when Sophia first wiggled her toes? And now she's walking with minimal assistance," Marcus added, glancing across the room where Sophia was demonstrating her improved mobility to an admiring group. "The next generation NGX variants are showing even better results." They stood in comfortable silence, both aware of how dramatically the world had changed in 5 years. The revelation of extraterrestrial intelligence had been carefully orchestrated exactly as planned, first through scientific channels, then expanding to governmental acknowledgement, and finally to global public awareness. The initial panic and disbelief had gradually given way to a complex mixture of wonder, concern, and cautious optimism. "The neural interface prototype is ready for the first human Atelian demonstration tomorrow," Marcus said quietly. "The integration with NGX-9 is seamless in all simulations." Eleanor nodded. "Viridian says their council is sending additional observers. This goes beyond scientific achievement for them. It's potentially transformative for interspecies relations throughout their known galaxy." The neural interface technology had evolved alongside the NGX compounds, each breakthrough in regenerative medicine enabling more sophisticated connections between nervous systems and external devices. What had begun as a treatment for spinal cord injuries had expanded into technologies allowing direct neural communication between humans, and now, potentially, between species with fundamentally different neurological structures. Dr. Reed, a young researcher, approached nervously. "There's someone asking to speak with you privately. They say it's urgent." Eleanor excused herself and followed the researcher to a secure communication room. The screen activated to reveal Viridian, her silver eyes reflecting urgency even across the digital connection. "We've detected unauthorized scanning of your facility," the Italian scientist said without preamble. "Non-collective origin, using quantum frequencies we associate with the Meridian Alliance." Eleanor tensed. The Meridian Alliance was one of the factions Viridian had obliquely referenced during their first revelations, a coalition of species with a philosophy that viewed emerging intelligences as potential threats to established cosmic order. "Are they hostile?" she asked. "Not explicitly," Viridian replied, "but they oppose our contact protocols. They believe humanity should have been contained rather than engaged with." The timing of their appearance, on the eve of the first neural interface demonstration, cannot be coincidental. "Security has been increased as planned," Eleanor assured her, "both conventional and the countermeasures your team provided." Viridian's expression remained concerned. "The demonstration must proceed. If successful, it will strengthen our position that collaborative development benefits all species. But exercise extreme caution. The Alliance has sophisticated means of interference." After the communication ended, Eleanor returned to the celebration with new awareness of the stakes involved. The neural interface demonstration wasn't merely a scientific milestone. It was a political statement in a complex interstellar landscape humans were only beginning to comprehend. Later that night, as guests departed and the facility quieted, Eleanor made her way to the secure laboratory, where the neural interface prototype awaited tomorrow's demonstration. The device appeared deceptively simple, a crystalline headset with neural connectors designed to interface with both human and Atelian nervous systems. Couldn't sleep either, came Sophia's voice from the doorway. She walked carefully into the lab, her movements deliberate but steady, a testament to how far neural regeneration therapy had advanced. Too much on my mind, Eleanor admitted. Sophia approached the interface prototype, studying it with evident curiosity. It's strange to think this all started with me just wanting to wiggle my toes again. Now we're talking about communicating with aliens through direct neural connections. Do you ever regret being part of this? Eleanor asked. Your life would have been simpler if you'd just received the treatment without becoming involved in everything else. Sophia smiled. Simpler isn't always better. Besides, I bring something essential to this project. You and Marcus understand the science. The Atelians understand the larger cosmic context. I understand what it means to cross boundaries that were supposed to be permanent. Her words held profound truth. The NGX breakthrough and subsequent contact with the Atelians had fundamentally altered humanity's understanding of its own limitations. What else might be possible if other supposed boundaries proved similarly crossable? The next morning arrived with clear skies and heightened security around the facility. The neural interface demonstration would be witnessed by a carefully selected audience representing major scientific institutions, ethical oversight committees, and governmental liaisons from around the world. The Atelian delegation, led by Chief Observer Thalion himself, arrived via their advanced transport technology, materializing in a designated arrival chamber. In the main laboratory, final preparations were underway. Eleanor would represent humanity in the first demonstration, with Viridian as her Atelian counterpart. The neural interface headsets had been calibrated to their specific neurological patterns over weeks of preparation. The objective is modest for this initial demonstration, Eleanor explained to the assembled observers. We'll attempt to share simple sensory experiences, basic visual and auditory perceptions. This represents the first step toward meaningful neural translation between different species. As the observers took their positions behind shielded glass, Eleanor and Viridian sat facing each other in specially designed interface chairs. The crystalline headsets were carefully positioned by technical teams from both species. Neural synchronization in 3, 2, 1. Marcus initiated the connection sequence. Eleanor gasped as the interface activated. Initially, there was only a sense of expanded awareness, as if her consciousness had suddenly gained additional dimensions. Then, gradually, she began perceiving something extraordinary, sensory impressions that were recognizably not her own. Colors appeared in spectrums she had never experienced, extending beyond human visual range. Sounds carried harmonic complexities her ears could never have detected. Most remarkably, she felt Viridian's conscious presence, not as thoughts or words, but as patterns of awareness fundamentally different from yet surprisingly compatible with her own. Through the observation window, the witnesses saw both participants react with evident wonder, their neural activity displays showing unprecedented synchronization patterns across species-specific brainwave formats. Then, without warning, alarms blared throughout the facility. The neural connection wavered as security protocols activated automatically. Perimeter breach detected, announced the facility's AI system. Unknown energy signature approaching the main laboratory. Marcus moved quickly to the security console. We need to terminate the neural link immediately. No. Eleanor and Viridian spoke simultaneously, their neural connection apparently allowing shared awareness of the situation. Terminating now could cause neural damage, Eleanor continued. We need to complete the disengagement sequence. Before Marcus could respond, the laboratory doors slid open. 3 figures entered, humanoid but clearly not human, with scaled skin in deep purple hues, and eyes adapted for different light conditions than Earth's sun would provide. Representatives of the Meridian Alliance. Thalion identified them, stepping forward protectively. You violate multiple diplomatic protocols by this intrusion. The central figure, taller than the others, addressed the room in perfectly accented English. We come to observe, not interfere. The developments here have significance beyond local concerns. Eleanor and Viridian remained connected by the neural interface, their shared consciousness allowing a perspective neither could have achieved alone. Through Viridian's knowledge, Eleanor understood these visitors represented a powerful coalition that viewed humanity's neural breakthrough and rapid advancement with deep suspicion. The neural translation must complete its cycle, Viridian stated firmly. Interference now would endanger both participants. The Meridian representatives exchanged glances, then the leader nodded. We will wait. As the disengagement sequence initiated, something unexpected occurred. The neural connection between Eleanor and Viridian intensified rather than diminishing, expanding to encompass more complex shared awareness. Through this deepened connection, a possibility emerged that neither had anticipated, a way to demonstrate the true potential of neural translation to the watching Meridian representatives. With wordless agreement, they modified the disengagement sequence, extending it to include a more comprehensive neural sharing. The monitoring equipment showed unprecedented patterns as their nervous systems achieved a level of integration that transcended both human and Atelian neural architecture. When the connection finally disengaged, Eleanor opened her eyes to find the laboratory in stunned silence. The Meridian representatives had moved closer, their expressions registering what appeared to be profound surprise. What happened? Marcus asked, helping Eleanor remove the interface headset. We showed them, she whispered, her voice rough with emotion from the experience. Not just that different species can connect neurally, but that the connection creates something greater than either consciousness alone. Viridian nodded, her silver eyes meeting the gaze of the Meridian leader. The neural regeneration capability humans have developed isn't merely a biological curiosity or a stepping stone to advanced technology. It enables a form of understanding that could transform relationships across all known species. The lead Meridian representative was silent for a long moment. This requires reconsideration of our assessment, they finally acknowledged. What we observed was not in our models of possible outcomes. That's the point, Eleanor said, finding her voice strengthening. Breaking limitations means discovering possibilities beyond existing models. That's what happened when we found a way to regenerate nerve cells. That's what happened when the Atelians recognized humanity's potential earlier than expected. And that's what's happening now, as we discover neural translation can create shared understanding deeper than anyone predicted. In the days that followed, the implications of that first successful neural translation demonstration rippled outward. The Meridian Alliance withdrew their objections to Atelian engagement with humanity, instead requesting observer status in the ongoing neural interface research. Other species from the broader galactic community began establishing diplomatic connections, drawn by the potential of technology that could bridge fundamentally different forms of consciousness. One evening, as Eleanor stood once again on the observation deck watching the stars, she reflected on the extraordinary journey from a simple medical breakthrough to humanity's entry onto a cosmic stage. Sophia joined her, now walking independently with only occasionally unsteady steps. I had a neural translation session with one of the Atelian medical specialists today, Sophia said. They have a completely different understanding of neural structures than our scientists. It's like they've been looking at the same puzzle from an entirely different angle. Eleanor nodded. That's the most valuable outcome of all this, not just the technology itself, but the different perspectives it allows us to share. There's something else, Sophia added. During the neural connection, I experienced how the Atelians perceive humanity. It's fascinating. They see our neural regeneration breakthrough as evidence of something they call transcendent adaptability, the ability to fundamentally reimagine biological limitations. Eleanor considered this. They may be right. Throughout human history, we've repeatedly overcome what were thought to be absolute boundaries. Perhaps neural regeneration is just one more example of that pattern. As they spoke, the night sky above them seemed to expand with new meaning. The stars were no longer distant, unreachable points of light, but beacons of possibility, worlds and species humanity was only beginning to understand. The neural pathways that Eleanor had helped regenerate with NGX had opened an unexpected door, not just to healing human bodies, but to connecting minds across the cosmos. In the end, the most profound discovery wasn't just that humans could regenerate nerve cells, or even that aliens would find this capability revolutionary. It was that boundaries of all kinds, biological, technological, and conceptual, could be transcended when different forms of intelligence resonated together, creating understanding greater than any could achieve alone. That realization, born from a single medical breakthrough, would continue to transform both humanity and their newfound place in a universe far more connected than they had ever imagined.